One of the main issues behind everything that we're going to look into is how we're going to envision as countries the nation state in the 21st century. When the nation state was created in the 19th century, it was created under the understanding of the existence of one nation and one state. So what we're seeing today is a questioning of that vision of nation state. Questioning that has to do that in a state or in a country you can find different nations, different nationalities coexisting. This is a questioning that you can not only see in Europe. You see it, of course, in Scotland, you see it in Spain, you see it in Belgium, but you can also see it in Latin America. We're basically in the program going to look at 3 examples of how countries and the European Union have dealt with national autonomies or regional autonomies. We're going to be located in the city of Bilbao, which is in the north of Spain. It's in the Basque country. We have an orientation in which we're going to prepare students for living, studying and researching. After that, we start a part of the program that would last around 6 weeks, in which they have classes every day. We go to the university and have classes of the thematic seminars, we have classes of research methods, and they have classes of Spanish. The Basque region had a long-standing conflict about nationalism and the representation of the Basque nation in the context of Spain. This is a long-standing conflict that you can trace up until the 1800s, 1900s, the development of different national sentiments. This is the context in the Basque country that also has, of course, a very cultural identity, a very developed way of constructing and reconstructing their identity as Basques. So it's really interesting to be there and to be able to see that process. Usually we have 1 or 2 excursions per week. So for instance, we're going to go to Girona. Girona is a historical little town in the Basque region, which is mainly famous for a painting of Picasso, a little town that was bombed by the Nazi and the fascists before the Second World War, and it was destroyed. We're going to go to Vitoria, which is the political capital of the Basque region. Vitoria is where the parliament of the Basque region is. And we're also going to have a very interesting excursion to the French Basque region. So we're going to leave Spain and go to France, to the French Basque region, what they call Iparralde, the French Basque part. And we're going to have the opportunity there to see the similarities, the differences between the nationalist Basque project in Iparralde, in the French Basque region, and in Spain. And then we start our long excursions. We're going to go to Catalonia, we're going to be there for around a week. In Catalonia, there's an ongoing conflict between the Catalan state and the Spanish state, which has resulted in the last couple of years in gigantic demonstrations towards independence. They have a lot of academic development surrounding the idea of independence, the idea of self-determination. So we're going to be able to go there, speak with academics and see their point of view, speak with social organizations, with the leaders of the movements of the independence, people who are against the independence and want to remain in Spain. And after which, we're going to travel to Scotland, which is another case in Europe in which you can see an nationalist sentiment, regional autonomy sentiment. And in this case, we have the example of the referendum in which, by a very little margin, the people who wanted to remain in Great Britain won. We're going to be able to speak to people who lived this process. We're going to talk to different positions. And it's going to be interesting also to see the effects that Brexit has on this issue. It's a framework of international law that take part of this discussion also. So our students will have the possibility of studying this, seeing different policies made in country, in regional autonomy parts of those countries, and even in a macro perspective from the European Union. And then we come back to Bilbao, and students will have a couple of days to finalize their ISP project, which is the final part of the process, in which they have a whole month to carry out their own independent study projects. around what we have been studying all the semester, and it has to do with policy, law, regional autonomies, nationalities, nationalism. They can compare Scotland with Catalonia, with the Basque region. So there's many different possibilities for students. You can study, for instance, the influence of the European Union on internal decisions. We can study how did the economic crisis of 2008 affect the rise of nationalism in one of these countries. You can study the role of social movements in regional autonomy. You can study the process that is happening now in Catalonia. You can study the link between culture or art and regional autonomy or nationalism. You can study the link between sports and nationalism, which is really interesting. So for instance, in Bilbao, you have a football team that is part of the first division of the football league in Spain, and only uses Basque players. So it's really interesting, and you can link different issues. And of course, me as an academic director, I'm going to help the students find the specific topic that they're going to research. The program is in Spain, but it doesn't have a Spanish prerequisite because we're going to do everything in English. We're going to teach Spanish, but it's not a prerequisite for taking this program. But I would believe that it would be very interesting for students from international relationships, political science, pre-law, human rights, sociology. Those kinds of majors, I think, would be very interested to participate in this program. We try to be in touch with scholars, with really renowned scholars in our countries, but also with grassroots organization leaders, with social organization leaders. They're cosmovision, they teach their history, their conflicts, which is based on the understanding of respect, an ethical approach, and reciprocity.